companies bidding to take over management of Ghana's power distributor, the ECG, have arrived in Ghana to begin the second concession bidders conference set to take off in Accra. The conference comes as more than 1,000 workers as the electricity company institutes a class action to halt all government activities relating to the impending privatization of the company. The workers are challenging government's decision not to pay severance packages they have demanded ahead of the privatization program. We have details of the conference coming up shortly, but first, let's ask Labour consultant Austin Gami what he thinks about the suits. He's joined us on the line. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. What is your view on the suits that has been filed by the ECG workers?
Well, I'm sure you know that once this matter is faced with, the court authorities, we have to be circumspect in speaking about it to a large extent. So I'll not go into the nitty-gritties of the matter. At least I'll give it the high spots as the case may be. Is that okay?
That's fine, sir.
Good. Well, under our Labour Act, specifically Section 1054, if there is already an existing agreement between two parties, in this case between a union and management, which is exactly the case of UCT, whatever is in the agreement that inures to the benefit of the working people, we do not vary it per se, except you want to vary it for a better terms for them. But if it's to their disadvantage, then it becomes an unlawful thing. Two, it's also very important for us to appreciate the fact that when it comes to checking employment terms, it's about both employment and non-employment. So people who are already employed and maybe non-employment is about assisting them, they become apprehensive and worried about this kind of situation. Unfortunately, it does appear as if communication between the two parties might have broken down in one way or the other. Because if I listen to them carefully, they've written about 4 different letters, and their responses are either sketchy or non-existent. For that reason, I think that they get compelled. Maybe instead of branching to the National Labour Commission, they've decided to go to the Labour Court. Nothing wrong with that. But normally these cases will not be there for 5 days. It will not be 10 days. It will be a long-drawn type of thing. But I think that what I see wrong is the whole approach, is the inability of the employer, whether it is government as employer or the designated employer as ECG management team, to be able to engage the leadership of the workers, because it's not proper within the confines of our labor law and the collective agreement to engage the individuals in discussing what you want to describe as redundancy pay. Severance is what might be visiting them should it become real. For now, there is a guarantee from at least government as a father of the whole nation that, look, this concession, if it goes to whoever is selected, you will not suffer any loss of job for 20 years or so. So they are supposed to be guaranteed. There are a lot of things, to be honest with you, wrong with the comments and statements that I have read, from both sides. There's something wrong with an aspect of it. Maybe the court would look at it and tell them what they should have done and what they shouldn't do.
Right. So you have said earlier that these demands for redundancy packages, as you describe them now, may not exactly apply in this specific case. Is this still your position?
Yeah. When you are going through, what is it? They are not being. It's not about severance. There is no announcement of severance of legal working relationship between UCG workers and a concessionaire or management team. No such announcement so far has been made. What is being mooted now is about some new arrangement is being made, and if there is a new arrangement, and that's where the breakdown in communication becomes a problem. If there is a new arrangement that would not make anybody suffer any form of diminution, either in job title or in salaries and wages, or any form of relational thing, that they will not suffer anything, then there is nothing to worry about. But the way forward is for the employer, whether it's government or whoever, to sit with them and have a simple conversation using both the law, their collective agreement, and intelligence.
Right.
To enable them resolve this matter. It does appear as if this is where the failure is coming from.
Right. So, say in a minute, would you say they have a case at the workers once they presented to court? Do they have a case?
No, I'll be prejudicing the matter, so I cannot say so. I know exactly how it will end from where I sit as an expert in this matter.
And so how will it end?
I cannot say if I say that I'll be prejudicing the matter, but it's for them, the two parties, go and sit down. I think if they sit down, they should be able to resolve this matter without necessarily going to the court.
Right, thank you very much.
I can offer it for them.
Thank you very much, Austin Gami, for your time. He's a labor consultant. Now, we'll take the conversation from where Mr. Gami ended, because the coalition of stakeholders on the ECG concession agreement, CONSECA, has expressed disappointment as the turn of events. They are convinced it is not too late to return to dialogue, as Mr. Gami was saying, and the parties can easily discuss and resolve this matter for the success of the agreement if they are minded to. So we have with us in the studio a member of the coalition, Richard Nyama, to tell us more. Now, Mr. Nyama, we understand you have already started doing some work about this issue, and it's been related to dialogue between the parties. Tell us about this.
Thank you very much for the platform. CONSECA actually started this process last year when the whole process was becoming problematic. The workers had the difficulty actually sitting with the stakeholders, i.e. government and MEDA, to put their case across. So largely there was a lot of disaffection, and CONSECA came in. Initially, we were actually also against the process.
I remember quite well the coalition against the proposed concession arrangement.
Going to court and all that. Because we thought the package then wasn't proper. And as a result of our action, actually there's been a variance in the process now. If you are minded to know, the new government has now limited the term from 25 to 20 years. Initially, it was all going to the concessionaire. Now, Ghanaians would have 51% of it. And for us, this progress that is quite good. But and the membership of CONSECA, if you know, actually comes from major civil society organizations: Imani, ISODEC, this WASA group. And at the end of the day, we have the capacity, both technical and human, to help this process. And we actually started that. We had several engagements with the Ministry of Energy, with MCC, with MEDA, with ECG, with POO, to the extent that we got to some amicable agreements as to what the issues were and how to go and resolve them. But along the line, I think there were some issues of bad faith.
What happened along the line?
You see, this issue will easily be resolved, but unfortunately it's around terminologies. Terminologies in the sense that the workers want some specific words to apply, and government is against that. And it all comes down to this term joint venture. Now, the whole term joint venture thing was actually coined by CONSECA as a solution to it. We realized that government, if they were going to pay redundancy, would have difficulty because they can't pay all the 6,500 workers off. That will be in the region of $350 million. We can't get that money. The workers, on the other hand, wanted it not. They initially even didn't want the process, but then we convinced them that look, ECG needs government hands out of it for it to function properly, and they agree with that. And we indicated to them the best way to get that done is to have the concessionaire come in. That way, government cannot dictate to them when they should not pay bills and pay bills of MMDAs and ministries. And so that aspect was agreed, and we're like, okay, the midway is this. ECG workers want to be part of the New Deal. Okay, government, do you agree? They are like, fine, but ECG is a company of straw. They don't
what does that mean?
They don't have the money to be part of this process. We're like, okay, leave it to them. The workers are like, if they will have to use their SNIT contributions or use their part of their salaries to do it, let's fine-tune how they can be part of it. And you know what? The lucky aspect of it is that government has now introduced a new element which says that 51% of it should be owned by Ghanaians. How has not been defined.
Exactly, which leads me to a leg of these arguments, because these variations that were made,
yes,
which have pleased the coalition so much that it's become in support of it, complaints have been made that, look, these are just pronouncements on public platforms. Even in your statements, you refer to what the president said on May Day, and that some of these things have not been spelled out on paper that the workers can hold on to.
And that is why they are going to court. Because all the issues of grandfathering and all the nice things about they being secured for 20 years are pronouncements. When it comes to legal documentation as to it actually happening, we don't have evidence to that effect. And so theirs is that, look, if we wait till the whole process is completed, we may realize at the end of the day that, no, some bad faith has been exercised here and that we have slept on our rights. And at that juncture, they cannot go and seek redress.
So they have
to do that currently.
You think
like
they have an
Austin
argument?
said, I would not want to go into that.
Well, I don't mean the legalese, but that's points that I'm saying there's nothing on paper. You think they have an argument?
Yes. Being part of the process, we have also pleaded with government for paper evidence, regulations to be changed to prove that, yes, for this period, this is what is going to happen, and that all of them are going without any problem. As we speak, that is not there. Those are words out there. The mechanisms haven't been spelled out. But you see, our argument is that we don't even have to go through all this. If you have a term joint venture where the workers are allowed to be part of the ECG, the laws naturally are circumvented. The labor law 65 that we are dancing this palogo around is would be circumvented. Why? Because the workers become part of the new company. And for me, even for good corporate governance, if you are part of a trotro ownership, the likelihood is that if you are the driver, you'll be more careful than you just having it from somebody and driving and taking your share and giving his share to him. So if the workers want to be part of it, let them be part of it, buy into it, even if it is 1%. Then it means that for the 20 years, naturally, because they are part of the company, they are going to stay. Secondly, it means government doesn't have to go cough $350 million to pay redundancy. And I think when the minister made the pronouncement that they are prepared to negotiate individually with the workers and pay redundancy, he did not anticipate the situation where all the 6,500 workers will say that, okay, we are ready to take our redundancy. And then you are confronted with the problem of where to go get that money to pay them off. So we would use this opportunity to call the government and MIDA, MCC, workers in particular. We've been working with them behind the scenes trying to get this thing to stop. We want them to settle this issue out of court. It's not too late, because the court process, like Austin Game said, would take years to resolve. If we sat down around a round table with COSECA, giving that middleman opportunity to dialogue this, I think within a week or a couple of we could iron this out and the process will go on.
Now, this is the case where government is holding a bidders conference as we speak.
Yes.
Is that not bad faith?
On whose part?
on government's part.
Yes, but I'm told that the workers have injuncted the process. So as to whether it will be able to continue will be another issue. And that is why we need to settle this out of court. Because if they've gone to injunct it, you going ahead will be in contempt of court. But the process needs to happen. So we can quickly go sit down and say, okay, we are putting A, B, C, D on paper. Let's get the relevant laws passed and let the process continue so that we can salvage the situation and ECG. But currently, the way it's playing out, if we're not careful, and if you remember, we held a forum and we warned against this very same situation taking place. And it looks like it fell on deaf ears. Today, we have arrived there. But we still can salvage the situation, and COSECA is ready to play a major role in resolving this matter. It's easily resolvable.
But the way that the positions have been aligned, do you think they'll be willing to come to the negotiating table?
No, I actually think that there's willingness. It's a matter of miscommunication. Because if it comes to the issue of redundancy, government is willing to pay from the minister. If it comes to the issue of the workers actually participating, government is not against it. They are only saying that they don't have the money. And I'm saying that the workers should be given that decision to find how they will get or raise the money to take part in the 51%. Because the 51% hasn't been defined. You as an individual, if you had the wherewithal, if you had $100 million today and you want to buy into this concession, per the 51 availability, you can easily go into it.
Right.
So if the workers want to do it, if ECG as a corporate body wants to do it, they will easily get into it. And you know what? What also happens is that the whole concession is for a period, 20 years. After the 20 years, what happens? Is it going to revert to the old ECG? And if it is going to revert to the old ECG, if the workers are currently part of it, and then it is reverting, it means we have already built capacity. They are part of the new culture, of the new company.
And there's a more efficient company.
It's a more efficient company, and they will easily continue it from there.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard Nyama, for your time. He's a member of the coalition of stakeholders on the ECG concession agreements. Now, very soon, we're getting some more details of this issue because, of course, this is really the biggest issue concerning, well, that has hit the airwaves this week. The workers of ECG, particularly being members of the Public Utilities Workers Union pool, are currently in court. They filed their papers yesterday, trying to injunct the process, which we understand is currently ongoing. That's a second ECG bidders conference. What we know is that there was a first ECG bidders conference. This is expected to be the second one. And Joy News editor Fred Smith is with us in the studio to give us the details of this one. Fred, what do we know so far?
Well, you know, Daniel, that by March 2018, we should have the company that's going to be the concessionaire. So by March, we're going to do that. So the procedure is ongoing. By close of this month, the bids would have been received, but those who are making the bids would have to present, would have to know details of what they're coming to do and the regulatory framework before they place the bid. And so that's why we're having the second bidders conference already. They've shortlisted 6 companies. I'll give you the details. There's some from the Philippines, some from Italy, and some also from, the consortium, Ghanaian, Chinese company. All
so at least there's Ghanaian presence in there.
There is Ghanaian presence. In fact, 2 of the companies that are bidding have presence in Ghana. The 2 of them are based in Ghana. Their addresses are in Ghana. And so they will compete with those from, say, France, the Philippines, Italy. And we've seen an updated list, not confirmed though by MEDA, but an updated list that has a company from the United Kingdom. We've also seen a company from China. And so these companies are going to ask the questions and be sure that they are making the right bids. They'll meet with the PURC, you know, the regulator. Yeah. And so they understand the laws and other regulatory framework they'll be operating within. They also meet with the sector ministry, the energy ministry. They also meet with other partners in the process.
I'm pretty sure the Attorney General.
The Attorney General will also be meeting with them so that they understand also the legal framework governing this. So
now we understand they can also make some input into this request for proposals.
Exactly, because of the experience they are bringing on board. If they think that the whole program can be restructured in a way that makes it possible for them to bring about the efficiency that we require, for which we're going this way, then they can make the suggestion, but it won't be binding, really.
Right, thank you very much, Joy News editor Fred Smith, and he was bringing us some details of the concessionaire agreement. Thank you, Fred. And now